We will now open the business panel of this conference. This panel will be shedding light on the business opportunities that African Students offers. Participants of the panel are Mr. Joylo, founder of Storefront Ventures and Israel at Heart. Please come up. Mr. Benji Singer, WeWork General Manager, Israel, whose previous career was in restaurant business. Mr. Joseph Abramovich, a human rights activist, educator, and entrepreneur, president and CEO of Energia Global Capital, a co-founder of Ahava Power Company. And Yossi Verdi, an activist for social change and justice, and a leading business figure who is also known as the father of high tech in Israel.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much for your attention, and I think this will be the most inspiring and impressive panel so far. We have all the, as Donald Trump said, all the big dudes here. Okay, so this panel is about African continent, the business of opportunity. We heard over social media that Africa 2020, Africa 2050, but we said now, not 2020, 2050, we have to start the move now to reach to 2020. So in that light, we'll start with Mr. Yossi Verdi. Yeah, you, Mr. Yossi Verdi. You are the father of high tech in Israel, a strong advocate for improved education within all Israel, especially for minority community, for example, Bialik, Rogozin, right? Okay. And in addition, you were fighting lately against the deportation of Filipino children born in Israel. With all this amazing job, with your vast experience, how would you think Africans in Israel can assist Israeli companies in promoting businesses in Africa?
Well, first of all, I want to make one side comment. I'm not the father of the high tech in Israel. I deny it, and if you want to look for the fathers of high tech in Israel, you should look into two gentlemen which are mentioned two less than they deserve, and this is Dan Tulkovsky and Uziah Galil, which were the first ones to begin to build their civil high tech. This was a side comment, but Mr. Davis, if you are looking to award some really deserved people, you should think about Uziah Galil and Dan Tulkovsky. They really started the whole thing here, and they should be recognized. But this was a side event. I don't want to repeat what was said, but really it's very sad and very embarrassing. I would say that a country which was built on the very notion of refugees. This country was built on refugees. This was the main resource, the main building block, the main raison d'etre, the main reason we are here, the main reason of all our accomplishments, that once we got a little bit comfortable, we became numb, you say numb, to the suffering and the problems of other human beings. This is really, really a shame. It's not an easy issue. It creates a lot of social issues, but things can be mitigated and things can be managed and things can be improved, and it's really, I don't know what to say, maybe to apologize to all these people for the behaviors of some of us. Okay, so this was not about business, and I can tell you one thing, that at least there are many good people who are trying to contribute to alleviate the situation. Instead of talking about business, I want to tell you a little story, which I think is very important. Can I?
Okay, sir.
Okay, so you remember that in 2009 the government tried to deport the kids of refugees, infiltrators, asylum seekers, whatever names, and I was part of a task force which tried to deal with this situation. We have done lobby, and I sent a few emails to some of my friends in United States. One of them was a gentleman by the name of Abe Foxman. Abe Foxman, for those of you who don't know, was the CEO of the Anti-Defamation League. And I sent a number of emails. It was very interesting to see the different reactions of different organizations to these emails. I can tell you that two people immediately, like within 1 minute, responded, and this was Elie Wiesel. I don't know if you guys know his name, but if you don't know, I suggest you will go to Wikipedia and study. And Abe Foxman, who was running the Anti-Defamation League. The Anti-Defamation League was, or still is, the main Jewish organization which fight anti-Semitism, racism, and all these ugly things. Okay, so they issued a statement, and they said they tried to do lobby. 2 months later, 2009, Abe Foxman is coming to Israel. And he told me, Yossi, can you please arrange for me to meet with some of the kids in Bialik Rogozin? I want to talk to them. I told him, sure. I told you the story. I thought, okay, so you should listen also. Yeah, good. So we asked the kids in the 11th grade. Today, these kids are now 10 years older. They are now like 27 years old. If they are willing to meet with Abe Foxman, and he said yes. And 2 days later, a car came from Jerusalem. Abe Foxman came with the lady which was running the organization in Israel. No press, no entourage, nothing, just the two of them. He went to the kids and he told them the following. He said, look, my name is Abe Foxman, and I'm running a major Jewish organization in the United States. By the way, in the United States, there are no minor Jewish organizations. All of them are major Jewish organizations. And he said, and I came here for the business of my organization, but when I heard that the government want to deport you, I canceled all my meetings. I had 2 meetings with the Prime Minister, 2 meetings with the Minister of Justice, one meeting with the Minister of Interior, and few other meetings just to talk on your behalf. And I want to tell you why I asked to meet you. He said, because when I was your age, I was forced to run away from Europe. I was a refugee coming to the United States, and I know how important it is to you to know that there are people whom you don't know who are looking, trying to help you and looking after you. Thank you very much. He turned around and walked away. And this was Abe Foxman. And I think that that's important that you will know the same thing, that there are people like Abe Foxman in the United States, in Israel, which are trying to speak on your behalf. Maybe not enough, maybe not strong enough, but you are not totally alone. That was my speech on business in Africa.
Thank you so much. That's very impressive. Okay, thank you. Okay, now this goes to Mr. Yosef Abramovich. As a leading figure promoting solar energy in Africa, what specifically are you doing in Africa? And what is your vision for Israel and Africa collaboration? But before you start, you gave me a video that tells a little bit that what you want to see, right? Let me see. Usman, need help with the light here, please. Coffee.
And today I'm proud to announce that Israel is coming back to Africa in a big way.
Power Africa, a strong and prosperous and self-reliant Africa.
From this mountaintop, we call on the United Nations to affirm that access to green power and affordable green power should be elevated as a fundamental human right for all of humanity and for all people.
I want to say thank you to Goza Shalom Youth Village for being our partners.
Oh my God, that's Africa.
warwanye mbere nirwo rwari rukomeye bityo nago numva impamvu rari rwo rukunaniye sigaho kumanika amaboko niharagera abawe tukuri inyuma witeka kikurora wakoze biriya n'ibindi azabikora ninyakuremeye kuruha ntutinye umubabaro uzagera ushire tugacinye never give up my friend you got me
ihorere uri wenyine hari n'abakomerewe ndetse no kukurusha.
We commit to invest $2 billion into Africa.
Israel is coming back to Africa. Africa is coming back to Israel.
But when? Okay, this is the point I was waiting for. So enough. Usman, turn the light on.
This was an illegal election promotion.
Alhaji, thank you very much. First of all, Your Excellencies, we're very honored by your presence and by your partnership, and all protocol observed. For those of you celebrating the Ge'ez New Year, I want to say Shana Tova Umetuka to you. Also, we hope the Eritrean government, as a humanitarian good gesture will free the patriarch, His Holiness Antonios, and let him come to Israel on a both religious and medical pilgrimage. So hopefully soon. So in terms of Africa, the person from Rwanda, where are you? So Yannick, you said it really, really well. I mean, the way we view it, there's 600 million people without access to energy, and there's 200 to 300 million burning expensive and polluting diesel, and the population of a continent is going to double, right, in the next generation, right? So from a business opportunity, it's literally infinite. This is the growth industry, and you can't really do water or healthcare or education or agriculture in a major way without access to energy. And shouldn't that energy be clean and affordable? And so I have to say, like Joey, after you were in Rwanda, and then I got the email from you when you saw the solar field, you said, how do we get our students involved? And so we were happy that Alhaji...
I have a question for that.
Okay, so we were able to welcome some of you down south to Tura. And our colleague from the UNHCR, you called for internships. We're happy to talk about internships. Just say you're one of Joey's students, and we'll talk. And perhaps apprenticeships. And my vision is that shouldn't our Israel-based staff be 50% Israelis and 50% graduates of IDC from Africa? I think that would enable Israel to become... Our vision is for Israel to become a renewable light unto the nations, and it's not charity. The only way to lift a continent, all 54 countries, out of poverty is through investment. It's through business. There's not enough charity. There's not enough foreign aid. And people, I'm not saying there shouldn't be charitable out there, but it's going to be business models. We're about to do, we are in the process of doing what we call our Series A. We're growing the company. We're working in 10 different African countries at different stages of development. We're very proud of the progress that we've made with the government in South Sudan. Juba will be the first African city completely powered during the day by sun. Hopefully very, very soon with even some battery storage. Zambia will be the first co-located wind-solar hybrid on the continent, 2 hours north of Lusaka. And we're looking, but we believe that you are the bridges, exactly what you were saying. You have the local knowledge, the cultural knowledge. We'll never know those things. And just to echo what Yossi was saying, we are ashamed of our government in how they've been treating you. And I do want to say that as business leaders, there are things that you will probably never know that some of us on stage did. But because we had access as business leaders, we were able to prevent the forced deportations about a year ago, along with the heroes in this room. I see Sigal in the hotline, and Elliot, Julie. There are also, I'm sure, forgetting other people who are here. But as business leaders, we're able to to have the kind of influence. And so the more that you're in our lives, the more that we're doing business together where everybody wins and where the state of Israel also wins diplomatically, those UN votes, then the business model will lead us to be fulfilling our role in Africa as partners. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you very much, Mr. Yosef Abramovich. And it was a pleasure. When we visited Kibbutz Ketura, it was really impressive, you know. You know the thing I like most there was the robot. When the robot are getting up 6 o'clock and clean thousands of solar panels, you know, by themselves. But of course, we don't need this in Africa. We want people to clean it because we want the job. Yeah, not the robot.
Okay. We're happy to organize a trip for the other students who didn't come.
Okay, perfect. That's good. Okay. The next question will go to Mr. Benji Singer. As a leading Share workspace provider all over the world, you have recently opened office in Johannesburg, Cape Town. Okay. And do you plan future expansion to other African countries? Maybe Ivory Coast?
Sure. Is that the question? That's easy.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Is there more to the question?
Whether you want, whether you have a future plan to expand this into other African countries.
So, since Yossi Vardi opened up with a story, then I'll allow myself, although I don't think of myself as a storyteller like Yossi. But I will say there was talk about Joey as a donor and the type of donor you are. And Joey is one of the earliest investors in WeWork, in the company that I work for. And when Joey invested in WeWork, the only story that was at WeWork was about community. It was before this huge scale. It was before we're all over the world and in Africa as well. And so much of our DNA as a company is because of Joey. And he still comes to me and tells the stories of the students, but he also knows so much of the WeWork employees as well. So his the type of donor you are is obviously the type of investor you are, and wish you luck in both those, and that's probably where your success is coming from. And as far as and I 100% agree that the future of Israel is in Africa, the future of Israeli entrepreneurship. And Yossi probably knows this more than anybody, that so much of the entrepreneurship in Israel is looking always to Silicon Valley. And if we turned our heads in a different direction, we would see huge opportunity and huge problems to solve. And I think that the people in this room can help make that happen. And WeWork is just starting in Africa. And we see huge opportunity, obviously, what we can do there. And just like Yossi is bringing, sorry, yeah, you're Yossi too. Sorry. Yeah. That you're bringing, and Africa is going to experience technology and innovation in different ways than the rest of the world, because it's just going to leapfrog technology. They won't know any other type of energy other than clean energy, and they probably won't know any other type of work in the way of working as a community and people helping each other. So we're hoping to bring that to Africa. But just one thing that I wanted to say about what we're doing and about what actually makes community in the way I see it, and the way I see my responsibility in Israel, is that community is built out of three things. It's built from diversity, impact, and sorry about that. Let's what? The duct tape. But I'll start with diversity, and the thing that I spend most of my time on as the general manager of Israel is how do I bring WeWork into East Jerusalem, into South Tel Aviv. How do we create communities for underprivileged, for Arabs, for refugees? And this is how I spend my time. The strength of the community in Israel is based on that diversity and impact as well. If we're not able to impact the communities around us, the cities around us, the neighborhoods around us, then we will not have a strong community. And the last one is leadership. And I don't know how I forgot it sitting here in front of you guys, but this is the biggest thing, is that communities are now built around leadership, and they used to be built around common problems. Probably a lot of communities are going to be built around your solar factories, because they're going to bring electricity and jobs. But in the modern world, where you don't have this, communities are built around leadership. And you guys have all three of these wrapped in one. So you're going to have huge opportunity. So much of the business today in Israel and around the world is based on building communities and around communities. And I think you guys are going to have huge success, because you have all three of the most important ingredients of building a strong community. And we wish you all luck and hope we can do things together.
Wow. Thank you. Okay, Mr. Joylo, not only a co-founder, but a social activist and a founder of a Star Farm venture in Israel at Heart, a strong advocate for African refugee community. In 2018, you fought very hard against the deportation of the African refugees. How do you think Israel will benefit from the African living in Israel?
Well, first, I know they will. firsthand because I know who you are, and you know, every bit as capable as anyone else. It's just a question of being given. It wasn't just. It's a question of being given the opportunity. Thanks. I'll give you one example because I'm looking over here at the you know, Zambian ambassador, and what seems apparent to me is that the same that we're talking about, that Israel and Africa have to be working together. And we have a lot of African students from different countries. What came to me about a year ago is I was at the ambassador's office and I spoke to Mambo and I said, why don't we bring some African students to study here at the IDC? So this next year we have 3 students from Zambia. We have Violet and Joshua over there who just came from Zambia. We have a 3rd student who's going to be coming. They're doing the preparatory courses. He's going to be studying computer science, and Violet is studying business, and she's going to have some help with math. But both wonderful kids who I've spent some time with. And because of Yannick, who's over there, who's now the chief of staff of the Israeli ambassador to Rwanda, I wanted to bring 3 students from Rwanda to Israel. And we have 1 student coming this year, and his brother, who is every bit as smart as he is, unfortunately, he's only finishing school at the end of November, so we can't bring him this year, but he'll be coming next year. But the idea is to create relationships between our African students and Africa so that we can take some of our students, those who are able to travel, bring them down to Zambia, bring them to Rwanda, and let them see the potential that they have themselves. I always believe the best thing to do is you do things direct, because when you go through other people, it always gets complicated. So if we can get some of our students who can travel, Yannick would be more than proud and happy to have students come and visit Rwanda. I already spoke to, right over there to Yaniv, about bringing a group of Ethiopian students there. And we've done that, by the way. We've brought, I don't know if Danielle is still here, she led a mission for us down to Ethiopia many years ago with your help. And it's so obvious that this is the future. And giving you an education and preparing you for going back, whether your countries are safe for you to go back to or not, you can be a catalyst for business. And so in my mind, there's no question about it. You know, someone like Yossi here, who's actually doing business there. We work, I've been, talking to Benji about opening in Rwanda, because when I was in Rwanda, for 2 weeks, we went to visit a whole bunch of different offices, and there's a lot of space there that's available. And it's just, again, if you have to look a little bit ahead. And Yossi here, who's, a mentor to me and I've known for about 40 years, Yossi's always looking ahead. What's the next thing? And he doesn't want to be the guy in the back of the crowd. He wants to be the guy leading the way. And I use that as an example, or as an impetus for me, that you don't want to do what everyone else is doing. You have to look at, okay, what's someone else doing? Let me look at something else. Because what everyone else is doing, there are people doing it. I want to do something that is a little bit, what do you have to say about that?
No, finish. You're saying good things about me.
Well, he's a very special guy, and if you think he's good, you should meet his wife. Much better, or at least as good. So I'm proud that we were able to put this on. El Haji and the group of other students who did it. Kol hakavod to you, and carry on with the questions.
It's good. Give him the mic. I'm coming to him. Just have this in mind.
My son said that if there is a mic, for sure I'm not going to miss it. So I would like to address the question you asked me in the beginning now. And this is a little bit about business between Israel and Africa. The golden age of collaboration, business collaboration between Israel and African countries was in the 60s and in 70s, where the whole country, at that time we were a young country, like 20 years old, and Africa just began to get its independence. So there was kind of alleviation of the spirit. And at that time, both the government and other organizations like the Histadrut and other organizations created special tools for collaboration. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs had a special, very strong department called the Department for International Collaboration, which today what you have is a kind of a pale shadow of it. But the point was that Israel was engaged very actively in in bringing knowledge to African countries, mainly in fields of agriculture, but also infrastructure. This model worked very well. There is a guy by the name of Danny Ben-Or, who is now like 90 years old. He was vice president of the World Bank. He was in charge of agricultural training. He used to go to small villages in Africa, in Iran, in Latin America, in Southeast Asia, and bring the technology. Now, I'm following up very closely the development of high-tech ecosystem in the world, much like I'm sure that you guys are doing, and we see time and again that countries which had no infrastructure, no capital investments, but they began to penetrate, to go into these areas of startups, etc., and with very, very modest means began to open up. Not everybody developed the high-tech ecosystem like in Silicon Valley. You go today to countries like the Central Asia countries, and you will be surprised to see how many talents are there. The problem there, by the way, that the talents are not staying in the country. Most of them are going to Ukraine, where they feel more comfortable to go. But I think that, Joey, that if you take the IDC, the Zell School, the other entrepreneurship, and you take this guy and you create few accelerators, which will be inspired by IDC in Africa, and you empower the young guys, you will begin to create a movement. You will begin to see young guys inspired by the success of other people. I think from what I see, I meet all the time talented people that come from Africa to London or to other countries in these fields. The question is, what can be done in their country? A few years ago, I was a judge on a Nokia competition to award the best business program on cellular phone, and a kid from Kenya won $1 million, you know, in this competition. So I think if we want to look what Israel and Africa can do among all the laundry list, I would put also to try to replicate what we have done in the agricultural area 30 and 40 years ago, to do it today in the high-tech area, because we have all the tools, all the models, and even if it will start in a modest way, it can pick up.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, let me quickly go back to Mr. Benjin. As your company expands in Africa, how do you think our students could contribute to that?
I actually wanted to, WeWork is broken up into regions. For some reason, Israel is part of the United States region. That's a story within itself. But talking about independence, I wanted my independence as a region in Israel, and I wanted to be together with Africa because I wanted to personally make those connections that Joey is talking about. But we're just starting to scale now in Africa. But I'm willing to make a commitment that to connect the people from this program that are, if there is opportunities in WeWork and learning the business here and then spreading it in Africa, I would love to be a part of that. So.
That's amazing. Okay, so I'll come back to you, Mr. Yosef. I'll repeat it again, that during our visit, so we saw tremendous technology that could be utilized in Africa. You know, I saw the small village there, Africa. You know, they get to enter into Africa. It's amazing, all right? Okay. Do you think our students can play a role to expand those opportunities for you in other African countries?
Great, thank you. So at Kibbutz Keturah in the Arava, we built a model African village, and we loaded it with Israeli off-grid technologies for cooking, for energy, for agriculture, and because as many solar fields that we are going to build that are going to be on the grid, there's still going to be hundreds of millions of people who are going to be beyond the grid. So one is we do want to figure out how to invite all of you and the ambassadors to come down and see for yourself. And I understand that Zambia is the secretariat of all the African ambassadors, so there's a great opportunity. So we'll see what we can do, Your Excellency. But also really for you, for the students to come and see. I want to say the number one thing that by getting to know each other that will help be transformative is yes, leadership, and yes, all the other and what you're learning at IDC, which is phenomenal. But to me, it's all about the trust, the speed of trust, right? Because Africa is hard for us. Like for us to be able to manage projects from Jerusalem, there are certain things we know how to do. We know how to do the finance, we know how to do the profit model, we know the technology and all of those things. But it's ultimately, back to what you're saying, it's the relationships. And so if there's a transference of trust, you and Jonathan, you know everybody in this room. And I trust you guys, right? And they're getting the best education in the state of Israel. And so it's going to be about the speed of trust. It's going to be about the shared values. Yes, you'll need to learn, you do well in school, learn your business school, get your degree, get internships, get experience, sustainable development, those of you who are studying, see if you can intern with us or with other Israeli-based companies. But ultimately, yes, the reason why I think that we'll be able to now scale in the coming years, you heard us make a $2 billion commitment over the next 5 to 7 years through the U.S. Power Africa program. Just a sideline. Weirdly, President Trump is going to announce on Rosh Hashanah, on October 1st, the creation of the United States Development Finance Corporation, which we helped write the legislation for. He's about to announce $60 billion for U.S.-related companies like us to invest in Africa. And the poorer and the more fragile the state, the faster it is we'll be able to get and the funds and the more concessionary conditions. So what's missing is actually the human ingredient. It's the speed of trust. And even though I only know some of you, because you're Joey's family, I want to say you're all invited for Shabbat dinner, not all at once. But it's going to be the relationships that we have. Because if you trust us and we trust you, and you understand what's happening in these countries and you have your networks, then that will actually overcome some of the systemic issues that exist in these countries. And we can't do it without you. So looking forward to more interactions at Shabbat, at Keturah, at internships in our Jerusalem headquarters.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Joelo, this will be the last question for our panel. And what would you like to see the African student achieve in the years ahead?
Well, I was just thinking that, let's say Israel, if it were looking to Africa, God works in very strange ways. The fact, what you just said, the fact that all of you are here, what brought you here, today is a tremendous asset for Israel. I mean, it's sad that you had to leave your countries, but the fact that you're here, Israel couldn't get to these people if they weren't here. This is a group of people. It's like God sent you here to be the messengers of Israel. A, because you know and understand the culture. Many of you speak the language. This is impossible, when you think about it, when you look at the world together. How is this possible? How did all these people, come here? You came here. You've learned about the culture. You understand this society, how Israelis think, for better and for worse. And all of that prepares you to be those ambassadors and those emissaries to go back and help companies like Yossi's, help a company like WeWork that knows how to do their business, but they don't necessarily know how to do the business in your country. And they don't know how to do it because what do they know about the people? It's you people who bring your expertise and your people who bring that. And again, you didn't think about it when you came here, but the fact that you're here, and I play basketball with a whole bunch of guys there in the middle with Alam and with Jackson, and I've grown to be family with all the kids who are here. Emmanuel in the back who wants to meet you after this is over, because kids are looking, what are we going to do next? El Haji, he's here with his 2 kids and his wife. People are wondering, what am I going to do next? I'm getting an education. It's very difficult in Israel, stupidly, that they don't hire people. That's one of the dumbest things, because these are people who are so capable of working. But if one day you have to go back somewhere, the places that you should be working at is obviously in Africa. That's what you know the best. So I'm very optimistic about the opportunities that these kids will have. I'm very proud of the school that they give them the education that is a top-notch education. And it's not only in computer science, it's in entrepreneurship and business and psychology. And these are the leaders of Africa tomorrow. And I feel very confident and very comfortable knowing that the kids who are here are the ones who are going to inherit those countries. And hopefully we'll be able to go back, Sako and his wife over there. I look at the audience and these are all like my kids, because I really respect them. I love them. And I feel that, the world is their oyster. You could do everything. What you need is some opportunities. And I think people, like Yossi, what we're able to do is help connect you, be like a little network to help you. And I'm very proud, to be associated with the IDC. I'm very proud that slowly, what started with 6 people is so many more. And hopefully we can grow as the years go by. Berhe, who's the principal of the Eritrean school, Abu Ghida, is here that we try to work with. That's a great school. Yes, you should go and visit. There's so many positive things in this room and every person, that is a life. And each person's life can be expanded. They can do so many wonderful things if only we give them the trust and the confidence and the ability, so I have tremendous confidence in the future.
Wow. Thank you very much for the inspiring word and motivation. So, brothers and sisters, you hear all what they've said. And what I would tell is never give up and keep on pushing and be strong. Never lose hope. Try to go back to school. Me sitting here, I didn't start from here. I work in the restaurant as a Sutef Kilim for how many years? I don't know, but I never give up because I know where I came from and where I'm heading to. So with this opportunity I got, and with other friends, we said we must help other communities because we know there are much potential people in the community more than us, but it is hard to discover because of the situation. And that's why we step in. We try to get you all on board. And we believe very soon we'll reach our goal. All what we are asking the Israeli government and all the companies to reach out, at least to give our students or the African communities that are here, only a few thousand. The border is closed, it's blocked. Since 5 years ago, no one is coming in. Give them a stay and see, give them all the opportunity and see what these people will do. They're amazing people. So please help us, our ambassadors. And he did everything. Believe me, he will be Minister of Interior tomorrow. Say, all African students, come and have your visa. I believe that. So please help us spread the message to give our students facilities, at least to do some activities. Even in school, we can participate in some project because of documentation. You can't do student exchange. Aaron, he's supposed to go to China, the program that he did with a group of 7. He have to stay here, and they went and did the program and gave him everything, and he did all the, how can I say, all the shit, right? After what they did. So he have to do all the hard job because he can't travel. So please, we are asking to spread the message and help us get, at least let's start with the student, a status, at least they'll be able to move it and look for internship. So I thank you all for coming, and thank you for having me. Bye.